Welcome back to The Will of the Hunted. This week's guest is a talented drag performer, proud trans woman, and a great friend of mine. Please welcome Skai. This podcast is for support and commentary only, not professional advice. I am not a licensed clinician. This podcast might be triggering to some listeners as we have honest discussions about trauma, but we have lighter conversations about mental health and identity as well. And if you need help, go to thewillofthehunted.com/resources. And remember, you are not alone. Hi, Skai.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to see you and catch up with you and hear all about your life and what's going on in your career.
Yes. I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Let's start out with, how would you describe yourself and your drag style?
I would describe my drag style. I always say that, Punzie, my drag persona, is kind of a way to have fun while kind of healing my inner child a little. It's all the things that I loved as a child, but was always too scared to, kind of openly love. You know what I mean? So, I loved Bratz dolls. I loved princesses. I loved the girly Pokemon. I loved musicals. I loved all that stuff. Well, I think everyone knew I loved musicals, but I loved Pink. I loved all that stuff. So it's kind of just a way to bring everything that I, as a child, you know, felt like I couldn't openly express and say to the universe, you know what? I can openly express this and I can be myself and I can love these things and express that in my art, and you're all gonna have to like it. And if you don't, then, that's a reflection of you.
Period. And did you choose your drag name or did someone else give it to you?
I did choose my drag name. So my original drag name was Rapunzel Brat with an extra T. And I got that name because it all kind of tied into the childhood aspect of my drag. Rapunzel was my favorite princess, and my favorite movie was that cunty. Oh, can I swear? Okay, sorry. That cunty live action Bratz movie. That I loved watching growing up, and I was like, Rapunzel Brat, that's kind of cute. But I've since shortened it down to just Punzie because it's a little easier to say. And there was also a problematic contestant on Drag Race with two T's that people started to make jokes about that, and I was like, let's not. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, the inspo for my name.
You said it's not going to be Rapunzel Brat with two T's.
Nuh-uh, never.
Branding issue. How long have you been doing drag?
Oh my gosh. So I've actually just celebrated my technically 6th drag birthday this past August. So 6 years technically with the label as a drag queen, but I know this might sound a little cliche, but I always say I've been a drag queen for as long as my memories can really last. I used to love to secretly use my allowance to go to Justice, get all the clothes on or Claire's Boutique or something, go home and then perform songs from Legally Blonde to my family or all that stuff. So I mean the label drag queen 6 years, but girl, I've been a drag queen for as long as I can remember.
It's a lifestyle.
Exactly.
So we met back in the day on the Instagram drag scene. Back when I was doing drag. I was learning from my my best friend and my drag mother, Bria, and I think we met when I did, was it Tops and Bottoms Drag Race?
I think yes, it was Tops and Bottoms.
That was a crazy experience. But it was also really fun being online with all these other teenagers and 20 somethings who are all just doing drag for fun in our bedrooms, with whatever the fuck we can put together, and just kikiing and having a good time, and the drama.
The drama.
But super fun. So since then, have you started actually performing in clubs?
Yes. So I started drag at around 13, 14. So obviously I couldn't get into clubs. I mean, your girl definitely snuck into a few, but she couldn't get in. She really couldn't get booked, which was definitely a bit of a struggle. So that's also a big reason why I turned to the Instagram competitions, was because I still wanted a platform to share my art on. And also because in New Brunswick we don't have a lot of competitions. So I mean, it's fun. But for performing itself, I started performing June of 2022. I had my first drag show. I had done lots of like musical theater before that and stuff. So I was not like a stranger to being on a stage. But yeah, my first actual like drag show was June 2022, and then I've just kind of kept working since, and I loved it.
What was your first number that you performed on stage?
Girlfriend by Avril Lavigne.
Slay.
Yeah.
What are your favorite numbers like today that you do?
Ooh, I do a few. I okay, so like I feel like everyone has their like kind of queer icon. Mine is Britney Spears. Um, Anything by Britney is a big yes for me. I love Womanizer. That's probably I'd say that's probably my most performed song. It got me recognized for a gig. Like it got not recognized for a gig, it got me like I performed it one night and then all of a sudden I went home with like four more bookings. So I mean, it's definitely my lucky song. I'm currently working on a Britney mix actually where it's gonna be like a mashup of like my five favorite songs by her. So it's gonna be like a 10-minute mix. It's gonna be so tiring, but it's gonna be Womanizer, Piece of Me, Get Back, Circus, and Baby One More Time. So I'm really excited for that. Some people, aside from Britney, I perform would be, I don't know, just anything upbeat, anything fun, anything energetic. She does do ballads though, don't worry. She's not just a one trick pony. She does do ballads, trust me. But no, Britney's
She
definitely my
has
main.
range.
Well, yes. But Britney's definitely my like go-to girl and has been from the start.
The blackout representation on that set list. Oh, Get Back is like a song people don't know about, and it's so good.
Okay, people watching, we need to stop sleeping on Get Back, okay? Britney Spears has obviously been through it. And she did not go through everything she went through for us to sleep on this masterpiece that she created. Because you can listen to it in any vibe. If you want to have fun at the club, you can listen to Get Back. If you're feeling sad, listen to Get Back. You'll feel better. I can promise you that. Like, we need to really give her her flowers for Get Back. It's crazy to me. It's really crazy to me how it just kind of got like swept under the rug.
That album means so much to me because knowing her life story and how crazy her life was at that point and how she was being so mercilessly harassed and stalked, and that was kind of her like revenge album, her revenge record, and it was so cunty and powerful and dark, and I just ooh, reclaiming your power.
And I think that people often skim over the lyrics of that song specifically and with that era of her life. She obviously, like you said, had been very violated, had gone through so much, and had this whole reputation thing going on. And the lyrics, if you don't like it, then get back. Get back. I think people kind of miss over that part that she's like, it's a message to the audience, you know?
Yes, and in like the song Gimme More, it says, what was it? The crowd keeps asking, but I won't give any more. And it sounds like I can't give no more. Instead of not like I want more, it's about the I can't give the crowd anything more, but they keep asking.
Yes, exactly.
So I recently like kind of noticed that, and I was like, yeah.
Absolutely.
What's the drag scene like in Eastern Canada?
Oh my gosh, so it is so fun. It's really fun. I think that we have some of the best drag out there and that we often get slept on just because when people think of Canada, they'll think Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, the big cities, and I get that. But no, like where I live in Fredericton, our drag scene is just so diverse, I feel like, in terms of like art. Like I feel like everyone brings something so different to the table. That's why I'm actually currently working on a project. For a little portfolio I'm working on where I'm going to be recreating the makeup of a bunch of different artists here in Fredericton. And it's also partly because I kind of want to put myself in their shoes, but also because it shows how different everyone is. No one does the same thing here, and I think that's really, really cool. Um, and yeah, everyone knows each other, of course. It's a smaller place. Um, and yeah, I think we're pretty iconic here.
How many nights a week are you doing gigs?
So it was normally like just like a once a week thing, because our drag scene, unfortunately, as amazing as it is, drag, when you're in a place like Fredericton, you can't like necessarily have like a gig every night, like somewhere in New York City or Toronto. Um, so it was normally like I normally had a gig like once a week, twice a week before I took my break. And then, your girl went through it, took a break, and now I would say I don't perform as much live as of now. Um, I just kind of perform whenever I want to now, but I do makeup and I actually still practice my craft almost every day.
Right. And you told me right before we started filming that you are now going to be an esthetician, or you're just started school.
Yes, I'm very excited for that. So makeup especially has always been a really, really big part of my life. Even before I started doing drag, I used to just like love to do like my sister's makeup or like my friend's makeup just for fun. I had no clue what I was doing. But it was fun. Um, and then I don't know, it's always like even I think what I like about makeup is even when it turns out not the way you wanted it to, and trust me, I'm very familiar with that feeling. um, yeah, it's still I don't think that's a bad thing because it with makeup you're able to see, okay, here's what I did that I love. Keep this. Here's what I did that maybe I don't like as much. How can we fix that? So there's actually a lot more problem solving in makeup that I think people don't always think about.
And I love your makeup style. It's always been so like fun and campy and bubblegum. You probably remember my drag makeup. It was a little chopped.
It was iconic, and I loved it.
But that's so exciting. So what's the end goal for you? Do you want to like work in makeup stores, and or do you want to do drag full time and like try to get on like Canada's Drag Race, or what's the dream?
So I don't really know what the dream is right now. This is something I've been thinking about a lot recently. Like, where do I kind of want to go from here? I would love to be a professional makeup artist. I would love to do makeup for um just queer people in general. I mean, I don't know if there would be a huge market for this in Fredericton. I'd probably have to be in like a bigger city to accomplish this, but I would really love to do like a kind of prom type of makeup business or like a makeup, like become a makeup artist. And my target is like queer kids, queer youth who may not have the most supportive household or may not have like the resources that they need to really feel like the beauty within themselves and to feel confident. And I would love to help them kind of like bring that, just feel the beauty that we all deserve to feel.
Exactly what you said. Makeup is a safety net for a lot of queer people, and it's also a gateway to feeling like you have the ability to explore your identity. One of the other things that I've known about you since we did Instagram Drag Race together is you've started your transition, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
What was that process like, discovering that drag wasn't completely the answer for your gender identity?
How I always describe it is when I was little, I always kind of assumed I was under the trans umbrella. I assumed I was trans. But then when I found drag, it was kind of like, and I think that a lot of trans drag artists can probably relate to this, or trans drag artists who came out as trans after they started doing drag can probably relate to the sense of feeling like, okay, finding about drag, no, I'm probably not trans. I'm probably just a drag queen. This explains a lot. And it did explain a lot, but it didn't explain everything. And
Mm.
then once you kind of have that feeling of having to take the makeup off and having to, get out of that beautiful, lovely feeling that you get when you're in drag, but having to return to like your not true self, it's not a fun feeling. It's really, you dread it. It's very dreadful. Um, and I remember I was just so like depressed whenever I'd be out of drag. I'd be so sad. My grades were slipping. I actually even at one point did drop out of high school. Um,
Wow.
um, and then I was like, oh no, like there's so much more to this. I'm just not being my true self. So I actually I use the label trans femme. I think that's the label that fits me best. Yeah, so then I came out as trans. Um, Once I came out as trans, I went back to high school the same year. It was my junior year. Um, and I actually graduated early that same year. So being trans was not only,
Congratulations.
thank you. So how I always love to put it is that being trans, coming out as my authentic self, not only helped me heal a lot mentally, but it actually also helps me academically because you no longer have that stress and that pressure or that weighing depression over you. You know what I mean?
You're not trying to live that double life anymore, which is so exhausting.
Yeah, exactly.
How is starting your transition publicly at school?
Yeah, so when I started transitioning publicly at school, I kind of went about it a very certain way where I was at the time still going by my dead name, but socially I was still like, I grew my hair out, I was wearing makeup, I was wearing female clothes, and I was going by, not he, him pronouns. I just didn't change the name aspect because I just didn't want people at the time to like, I don't know what it was. I just don't think I was ready for that part. So it was fine. When I returned to school after dropping out, I actually did a different program. I didn't go to just regular everyday like school. I went to one of those kind of programs that is partly online, partly in school, and they just kind of accommodate you a little more. And I think I needed to do that. I'm so glad I did that. They were amazing. And I mean, I think partly because I was sheltered away a little from like my huge high school, which had like thousands of kids in it, definitely did help. I think that had I gone back to high school, just the regular setting, while transitioning, it definitely probably would have been a different experience. So I definitely had a certain level of privilege that not every trans person has while transitioning during school. But no, yeah, for the most part, it was fine.
That's awesome, and congratulations on graduating. And I'm glad that you had a program where you could still finish school but felt a lot safer about coming out.
Sure. Yeah.
How are your drag sisters in Fredericton? Were they super excited about your transition?
I could not have asked for a better community to be trans in. I always say that. I think that what I love about Fredericton is that we have I said earlier how we have such a diverse drag scene in art. We also have a very diverse drag scene in gender identity. We have so many different identities performing in drag here. And I just felt like, you know, I'm just one of you guys, I'm one of y'all. Like, it just felt like almost like I was coming home. There's so many, y'all making me emotional. So, just so many amazing trans drag artists here, and even the drag artists here who don't identify as trans they're fierce allies to the trans community. So, I just always feel so much love in Fredericton about being just who I am. And I love them.
I love that so much, and that's awesome that there's great representation there as well, because trans is always part of drag.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Have you noticed any personality traits from Punzie slip over into your real life as Skai?
Yes, especially in high school. Oh my gosh, in high school it was really bad. Like literally, oh my gosh. I look at my high school self sometimes and I just want to like give myself a big punch in the face and then be like, okay, now let's go talk and get some coffee and like go over this because so obviously in the online scene, as you kind of touched on earlier, there was like a lot of drama. And when we had a lot of drama in the online scene, when you're young, you sometimes kind of don't have the most social awareness. So I kind of was like, well, me and my drag sisters talk to each other this way. I'm just going to bring it to high school. I'm going to bring it to my in person friends. Horrible idea. Like, really, really bad idea. Um, I mean, it definitely showed people like not to like mess with me, but I also definitely lost some friends, which I mean, I get it. But now I'm able to, as an adult, definitely balance the two really well while still feeling confident in and out of drag, you know?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and the the Instagram drag scene is very ruthless and cutthroat, but it was also a great opportunity to push myself creatively and kind of explore visual aesthetics and different performance styles. And I didn't end up sticking with drag, but it definitely like taught me a lot about myself.
Absolutely. I love that.
As a trans drag queen, have you experienced any discrimination or anything else because of your identity and career?
Yes, absolutely. In all of Canada, you may already know this, but our politics, the colors for them are swapped. So liberal is red, conservative is blue. So when you hear me talk about us being like a blue province or a red province, that means blue means conservative, red means liberal. I just wanted to kind of
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, so New Brunswick for a pretty long time was a blue province, so what would be a conservative province here. And I noticed that when we were a blue province, which we're not anymore, but when we were, there was a big spike in it. Especially when topics of like drag getting banned was first getting brought up. There was one woman specifically who was just ruthless about it. She would just come to our events. She would have a megaphone sign. She would bring her little posse with her. It was horrible. She'd be harassing us on Facebook. She said something really, really bad on one of her Facebook lives that I'm not even going to say here because it could get taken down with YouTube guidelines. But I will think of a different example would be one of the prides when I walked in the parade. We were all at our little group waiting to walk, and this group of people came with their megaphones and they were pointing at us, screaming at us, calling us predators and stuff. And I think that something we don't talk about enough with this whole like drag queens are predators thing, trans people are predators. I think that it's actually not only slander and not true and just stupid, but I think a lot of people forget the part where it actually invalidates the experience of people who have been actual victims or survivors, I like to say, of those things. You know what I mean? Like, it diminishes actual stories, you know?
I'll never understand what possesses people to think that we're grooming children or whatever when we're literally fending for our lives every day. And as a minority that is targeted for violence and sexual violence, it's mind-blowing for someone to say that, like you said.
Yeah, I was watching the new UK Drag Race season the other day, and there's a trans drag artist on there named Nyang Bella, and she was talking about her experience of growing up trans, and then she said something that really, really, really stuck with me, and I think I really had to let it sink in, and I think that a lot of people who maybe don't identify as trans maybe it wouldn't stick as much with them, but I think for the trans community, she said, when you come out as trans, everyone's nice to you until they're not. And that really like stuck with me.
I remember watching Lexi Love pretty recently, and she shared her story about what she had been through in her youth as a young queer person, trans woman, and the violence that she endured. And I'm really glad that voices like that and stories like hers are getting into the mainstream. So
Absolutely. And free Lexi Love. Fuck that AI person.
that was crazy. I saw that on Twitter and I was like, why are you like, yeah, an example of someone weaponizing our victimization. Someone named Lexi Love apparently was like accusing the actual artist of slander because now her name was unintentionally associated with like HIV and like trafficking and all of these like really vulnerable things that Lexi Love shared online and through Drag Race and things that she's a huge like public advocate for, and this person was like dragging her and like just making her sound really dirty for all of those things, and that's just that like really fucking pissed me off.
Same. I love Lexi. The real Lexi.
the the real Lexi. What helps you cope with that discrimination in your career and in your personal life, and how do you keep going?
Like I said earlier, it's just that feeling of, you know what? It's a reflection on them. There's something going on with that person that makes them be like that, and it has nothing to do with you. They may point it on you, they may make you think it has something to do with you, but it doesn't. It never does. It literally never does. I, if I could get what's the term, a nickel for every time a boy who bullied me in high school, a boy who was queerphobic to me in high school, has since slid in my DMs, girl, I, I wouldn't need to go on a show like Drag Race. I'd have the grand prize. Like, a lot of the time I think it's projection. A lot of the time I think it's insecurity. A lot of the time I think it's not being exposed to something new. And I think that at the end of the day, everything I just said there, projection, not being exposed to something new, insecurity, that's all personal things on them. It's not on us.
transphobia and trans panic and all of that stuff is just garbage, because you're from a small, pretty rural area too. Like, I'm from Maine, which is like the next kind of state over. And when I transitioned, there are so many people from who I went to high school with, and people who didn't know who I was after I transitioned, or who did and still like kind of hit me up. And I was just like, ooh, this is scary, because if they really know, like, but it is a weird, like, selfish validation of like, I won in the end.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, this person who used to make me feel so afraid is now begging for my attention.
Exactly. Like, that's literally what it is. And that's why I never take it personally when I see these people acting a fool, embarrassing themselves, being all transphobic, because it's like, well, it's just a you problem.
What advice would you have for baby queens or people who are pretty early on in their transition?
I read over the questions, and this was one of the questions I was most excited to answer, and I thought really, really, really long and hard about it. Because this is a topic that I don't take lightly as someone who was a baby queen. I know that it can be hard. So what I'm gonna say is this: I know that every time baby queens ask artists for advice, it's typically the same advice of just, oh, don't give up. So I'm trying to say something that I feel will actually stick with them. You don't have to know it all. I've just celebrated 6 years in the game, and I don't even remotely know half of it. And I probably never will. You don't have to know it all. It's so normal to make mistakes in your art. That, like I said earlier, is a good thing, because now you're just redirecting yourself and you know what works and what doesn't. Just because something doesn't go your way doesn't mean it's a bad thing that you should quit drag forever. It really doesn't. Keep going, keep fighting, keep doing you, and don't let other people persuade the type of art they want you to do. If you want to be a drag king, be a drag king. If you want to be a drag queen, be a drag queen. If you want to be a drag thing or a monster, do you, because that's going to be the key to your success, is being yourself. If I could, you know, a good example is I don't always cinch and I don't always pad. That's something I used to get critiqued a lot when we competed, actually. And a big reason I don't do this is because as a trans person, I feel like I was often very dysphoric and insecure about my body growing up, because it wasn't what I identified with in my brain. So now when I'm in drag, I like to actually not cinch and not pat sometimes, because it just allows me to freely express myself? So that's a good example of like not letting other people's opinions on what you're doing influence your decision. And I also want to give some advice to experienced performers, and that's be nice to the baby performers. Don't look down on them, help them, book them, give them the attention that they deserve to become a thriving artist like yourself. Because when they are eventually a thriving artist, you don't want to has to have them look back and be like, oh, well, that experienced performer just looked down on me and never wanted anything to do with me until I became popular. Don't you want to be the artist who they can look back and be like, oh, yes, they helped me, they booked me, they helped me grow? Like, be kind to the baby performers, because that's the future.
More experienced queens and people who have actually made it in their careers as queer artists shouldn't be gatekeeping or criticizing people who are just starting out and trying to make it, because we have to stick together. There's so much bullshit happening outside the community affecting us. We really have to, like,
Yeah. And that especially, I'm going to say it goes for the Drag Race girls, especially. I A lot of them are very nice, but I do have a very specific story that sticks in mind. I'm not going to name drop her, but I will just say this. There was a drag race queen from a bigger city who came to perform in Fredericton a few years ago, and it was clear that she did not want to be there, and that the city, it was clear that she was used to, I guess, what would be a more big city scene, because I will never forget her walking in to the venue where a bunch of us are outside just kikiing. We see her, we smile at her, we wave at her. Because one thing about us, or at least me, is I'm not going to go bombard a drag race queen when they're working just because, they're a person too. So we smile at her, we wave at her. And she literally walks in and goes, like, she's walking, and she's like, and keeps walking into the club. She went upstairs, never came down, never socialized with any of us, and just stayed in her dressing room the whole time. So it goes for people on TV as well. Like, be nice to the local performers, be nice to the baby performers, because that will stick with them. And then what happens if one of them gets on Drag Race and that's their impression of you? You know?
Why is drag so important to you?
Drag is important to me because it did save my life. It absolutely saved my life. I discovered drag at a time where I didn't see a future for myself. I discovered drag in middle school, which was for I think most people queer people can agree that middle school is a rough time for us. And I was starting to kind of drift away from like musical theater performing a little bit. And I didn't know what to do. I was so just kind of lost with myself and I was having a lot of really, really bad thoughts. And I'll never forget me and my mom and my dad were going to Vancouver and I sit down on the plane and I haven't talked to them about it, but I was really having just really bad thoughts, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do, if I was going to do something to myself, if it was going to be bad, whatever. And right at kind of that worst feeling of it, I turn on the like airplane TV and there's a photo of RuPaul in her little gold All Stars 3 promo. All Stars 3 had just aired. So I begged my mom to let me watch it. And I watched it. And after I watched that season, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. I found it. I found what I'm supposed to be doing.
Same for me. Like, I discovered Drag Race right after season 7 came out in 2015. And then I remember writing a letter to RuPaul and being like, get me out of here. I'm in fucking like backwoods Maine, and I don't feel like people are gonna be supportive of me wanting to be a drag artist. I didn't know it was trans at the time, but I remember writing this letter to RuPaul and being like, DM me, queen. But she gave me so much hope, and that show gave me so much hope. And like Violet Chachki, she's one of my drag heroes because she helped me want to make clothes and start sewing.
Yes, that's right.
And just that confidence that really helped me kind of find out who I was and then eventually go on a transition. Do you have any messages for any listeners who may follow your work and support you?
Yeah, so first of all, this is the first kind of public appearance I've made since shutting down my Instagram in last winter. So hi, it's been a minute. Your girl will be back soon, like publicly. I just needed to kind of live a more private life for a year. And I would say keep showing up for our community, keep spreading love to each other, keep growing. I will never sit here and say I'm a perfect person. I have made some horrible mistakes in the past, but that's okay because it's a part of the journey. It's a part of how we grow, and just keep growing and keep trying to be the best version of yourself. And to the queer kids of New Brunswick who might stumble across this video specifically, I want to say just keep going, keep being you. I'm here for you. There's a whole community that's here for you. Because just being yourself, like I said before, that's the key to your success. That's going to be the key to your happiness as well. So my Instagram account is currently private. You can follow me on sky.mac, MAC04. It's currently private. It'll be public soon. It's going to be turned into a drag account soon. Because I didn't know Instagram had that 30-day rule where, like, if you delete your account for 30 days, it's gone forever. So goodbye, almost 4,000 followers. It was real. So we will have to be starting from scratch, unfortunately. Um, so yeah, please, when the account is public, everyone watching this, please follow me. But it's okay. It's okay. We move. Um, so yeah, that you can find me there. I'm gonna be starting up a YouTube channel soon, or I guess starting back up a YouTube channel. Thinking of starting some streaming. You know me, I love the video
Ooh.
games. And yeah, catch me on your screens hopefully one day. I'd love that.
We're manifesting it.
Yes.
And keep me posted when the Instagram becomes public and when you restart the YouTube, and I'll make sure people know about it.
Thank you. Absolutely.
And thank you again to our guest, Skai. Please follow her everywhere. I will put the links on screen and in the description. And just remember that you are not alone. If you need help, go to thewillofthehunted.com/resources. And we will see you every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube and also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time.
Sometimes I went through it alone, it's better than you. There is a reason I don't wear those old pair of shoes. Originally, I had no plan of moving on. Had to push myself off the ledge to know what's going on.
You are not alone. And if you need help, go to thewillofthehunted.com/resources.